Okay, so when you were driving yesterday, I was saying to you, try and hold the bus in the correct gear, yeah? So if you're going through a very tight situation or a meeting situation, as you approach it, you're doing maybe 10 miles an hour, 15 miles an hour, the bus might be in second gear. And what you want to do is, while you're concentrating on what you're seeing and steering, yeah, sometimes what's happening is you don't realize the speed is starting to increase to the point where the bus wants to change into the next gear. And that's going to make your life harder because you've got the correct speed already, but you just need to be able to hold the bus in that gear while you're steering, yeah? And it's not just for those situations. It might be for a situation where you're approaching, I don't know, you might be going uphill and you're approaching a zebra crossing, where you just want to hold your speed constant, yeah? When you listen to racing drivers talk about driving around a racing track, they don't mention speeds, because in a racing cars don't have speedometers because the speed is irrelevant. They refer to the corner as like a second gear corner or a third gear corner or a fourth gear corner. Now obviously when we're driving on the road we have to keep within the speed limit, yeah? And it's important that you're always looking out for the speed limit signs. But as well as that, what you need to be aware of is, depending on how you use the gas pedal, you can affect when the gearbox changes gear, yeah? And believe it or not, sometimes when you're driving, if you get the correct gear, it will give you the correct speed. So you've just got to concentrate on the gear, yeah? So what I'm saying is, try and keep your foot steady to control the gearbox and keep the gear that you want. If you wanted to change into the next gear, sometimes you have to be a bit firmer with the gas, because you might come through a gap, for example, two parked cars, and then you might have maybe a traffic light maybe 100 meters away, yeah? Now, you can't drive at the same speed from the parked cars to the traffic light if the road's open. You have to get up to speed and then slow down again, yeah? The speed has to rise and fall. And that's when you need to provoke the bus into changing to the next gear. So you have to press the gas and provoke it into changing into the next gear, yeah? At the same time, if you can see that there's a situation developing further ahead, the most efficient way to slow down is through engine braking, by coming off the gas early. And that's when you need to ease off the gas early and let the gearbox drop down into a lower gear. So when I'm driving, that's what I'm doing. I'm not thinking about using the brakes. I'm thinking about provoking the gearbox or encouraging the gearbox to change gear, or coming off the gas early and using engine braking, yeah? It's what we call one pedal driving. And if you're reading the road far ahead and you're driving well, you can just drive the bus mostly on just the gas pedal, yeah? If we imagine a graph, yeah, where we've got a line that shows us our speed, yeah? What sometimes tends to happen is learner drivers will approach a situation, say this is 30 miles an hour, yeah? They'll approach a situation at 30 miles an hour and they'll stay on the gas quite long because they haven't really seen what's happening, and then they'll start to brake, yeah? And the speed will drop quite low, and then they may dawdle for a little bit, and this is where they've braked and slowed the vehicle down, and now they're not sure what's happening, yeah? So the speed's quite flat, yeah? And now they can, oh, okay, now I can go, yeah? And they're very smooth with the gas, and a bit late to get going, and then the speed gradually gets back up, yeah? An experienced driver would see the situation like this. They'd ease off the gas early, and the speed start coming down early, yeah? Engine braking. Now, they realise that because of the engine braking, that they can maintain a slightly higher minimum speed, yeah? And the minimum speed doesn't drop down as slow as the learner. The experienced driver goes through a little bit more quickly. And as soon as they get through, they realise that the hazard is cleared, and now they're ready to get on the gas, and they get on the gas a bit firmer, yeah? They're a bit firmer on the gas than the learner, and the speed comes back up to 30 a lot earlier. Can you see the difference? The speed trace.
Yeah.
A learner stays on the gas for too long, they don't recognise what's happening, then they have to brake, the vehicle speed drops quite low, and then they're very slow to get going. And sometimes this is how you're driving. An experienced driver will ease off the gas earlier because they realise what's happening. They'll keep the vehicle rolling a bit quicker because they don't really need to slow down that much. And then when they see the situation's clear, they'll get back on the gas early and get back up to 30. And that's how you maintain a higher average speed, yeah? There's lots of videos on YouTube, and I will link one in the description, of a gentleman who is a fantastic racing driver. He won the Le Mans race in the 70s. And he mentions about how when you're a racing driver, it's not so much about your top speed, it's about keeping a high minimum speed. So basically you never let the speed drop too much. You always try and keep a high minimum